Let's talk about Buddy. This is the new film from Casper Kelly. Now, Casper Kelly, if you're not aware of that name, you've probably seen some of their stuff. They did a lot of things on Adult Swim. They are also responsible for the Scooby-Doo project, which was a Blair Witch-inspired Scooby-Doo special on Cartoon Network. I remember watching that as a kid and just loving it. And he just most recently did a VHS Halloween segment called Fun Size, which I thought was pretty fun. He now returns with a new film called Buddy, and Buddy is a movie that got a ton of praise when it premiered at Sundance earlier this year. I had the opportunity to watch this movie back at South by Southwest in March, and I've been meaning to talk about it, but I've just been putting it to the back burner until we were ready for release. This movie will be released this month, and I said, what a better time to talk about the film. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let's get into Buddy and if it is worth watching. Now, this movie has a pretty stacked cast, so let's just go over that cast right now. So you have Keegan-Michael Key as Buddy the Unicorn, you have Cristin Miloti as Grace, you have Topher Grace, you have Patton Oswalt, Michael Shannon, Clint Howard, and you know, that's a pretty amazing cast in itself right there. And this film basically follows Buddy. Buddy is this unicorn of sorts that runs a TV show like Barney, and it is a very meta-ish film in itself and very layered. That's all I'll say for now. So the film is about a group of children that are trapped inside a surreal 1990s style children television show and must try to escape when their giant bright orange unicorn host turns into a brutal, malevolent nightmare. And so the best way to describe this movie is just imagine if Barney one day just snapped and tried to like take out all of the kids, and the kids are trying to figure out how they can even leave the show because they're trapped, and everything that Barney does and says is the law here. And it's a very interesting movie because it does have so many layers to it, and as they start to unravel, you're just like, wait, I have no idea where this is going, but I am intrigued. I will say that Buddy here, who is played by Keegan, is such a menacing character, and the way that Keegan plays him is so interesting because at first you kind of feel that this is such a warm and loving like creature of sorts, and as the movie progresses you realize just how demented, sick, and twisted Buddy really is. And I thought the children here did an amazing job at portraying this sort of like confusion, this sort of like fear, and just wondering how they can escape Buddy, and you really get to feel the fear that they have as well. I think that's where the film really is highlighted, is showcasing just how desperate they are to leave Buddy, but it seems that there is no way out here, and it's just a very bleak movie at times. I think also the way that Casper Kelly constructs the world of Buddy is so interesting because it'll make you remember those childhood classics, whether it's Blue's Clues, Bear in the Big Blue House, or Barney. Those are immediate things I thought about because this world is so animated. You would even think at the beginning that you're watching something else. It just feels like a children's TV show, and then it ultimately starts descending and being more twisted, and it is just a demented house by the end. And I think Casper Kelly really captured that so well. I think what he's really getting at here is also nostalgia and how we're so attached to it and what that means and how we can get lost in it. But stay tuned for the spoiler breakdown because I want to get deeper into that. This is spoiler free, so don't worry. I think Cristin Miloti here, who appears almost halfway through the film, is such a great addition as well. She's such a tremendous actress, and I would be excited to see her in more things. I think she really plays such an intense and interesting character here, and it is just something to behold as well. There is so much restraint in her performance as she is this woman that is trying to find answers and isn't able to do so, and you really get a sense of how urgent it is for her and just how she feels like she's running out of time. I think she played that character so well. The movie is a horror film. There is a slasher-esque vibe to it as well, I will say, and the movie, when you think it's not going to go for it, it goes for it and more. It's not afraid to push boundaries. It's not afraid, I think, to push people's buttons, and it really is a movie that is fearless, I'll say, because it does go for whatever it thinks it needs to go for, and you're just going to be like, oh, I mean, this movie got a lot of audience reactions. I do suggest watching this with a full crowd because it definitely adds to it. It is a movie that I was anticipating ever since it got announced at Sundance, and after the first reactions came in, I was like, I definitely have to go watch this. I watched it at South by Southwest, full crowd and everything, and it was definitely a treat. It was definitely a treat. If you like a old school slasher with a meta commentary, and if you know Casper Kelly, Adult Swim humor type vibes, it blends all of that together. It is very surreal, it is very horrific, and it is one of those movies I think is just gonna leave you like at the end like, what the hell did I just watch? So yeah, if you're looking for that next good horror film that is filled with so many like what the hell moments and just some very dark humor as well, there is some very, very dark humor throughout this film. This was definitely for you. If you're a fan of Adult Swim, like the Yule log, those like weird commercials and things like that, you'll definitely get a kick out of this one as well. And you know, I think that everybody might get something out of Buddy. I feel like towards the end, however, it starts to sort of go too deep and starts running into circles where it's trying to feel a little bit more deeper than what it really is, and I feel like it could get a bit sort of like what are we even doing here anymore? Whereas I feel like the first act of this film is so solid, it's so strong. The second act is interesting, but I don't think it ever achieves that peak that the first one did, and there's some minor things that happen that make it not reach that peak, which I'll talk about in my spoiler talk video later this week. But I think what really is solidifying here the film is Buddy itself, a character that is so outlandish, so downright demented, you can't help but to be intrigued by the film. I think Buddy really excels in certain points, but there's other points that Casper Kelly is trying to get across, and he sort of abandons what made Buddy initially better in its runtime at the beginning, and you quickly realize like we should have explored that a bit deeper and went more into those ideas than to just sort of try these other things that make it kind of feel like I don't know where the movie's going at all, and maybe the movie should have just been a bit shorter. I don't know how to explain it without giving spoilers to you, but I think once you watch it, you'll know, like, I found myself really enjoying the film overall, but I still think that there was a lot that could have been done to make it that much better, or things that could have been held back, or things that should have been a little bit more explored, but more of that in my spoiler talk. I do, however, love that Casper Kelly is just going for it. He is just exploring these ideas that he thinks would be great. And at the end of the day, that's all you want. It's something original, something that's really going to wow you. And I think Buddy, for the most part, did do that to me, but it just started to feel like it's just repeating and repeating, and it wasn't ever getting anywhere until the very end, which just feels a bit too rushed. And I feel like we could have gotten to that point a little bit sooner, but I think Casper Kelly just tries to do too much in that middle, and especially the beginning of the third act. But anyways, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below if you've seen it or not. I still recommend it. It's still one of my favorite films of 2026. It is just something I wish went a little bit more with what it was trying to say, and I think we would have had something truly special. I think what Casper Kelly does so well here in the film as well is presents the violence off screen sometimes. Not to say that there isn't moments where you're going to see a lot of fucked up shit, because you will, but when he does present the violence off screen, he doesn't just linger away from it and just like show you something random, you know. He shows you something and it's just like, oh, you see the reaction of a certain character that knows what's going on but doesn't want to intervene, and you're just like, it's just something that fills you with dread. And I think that's what really amplifies Buddy as such a ominous and disturbing individual, an antagonist to the film that everybody is afraid of. And Casper Kelly really amplifies just how evil he is in these moments. He really is doing such a great job at portraying something that just feels so sinister with these few instances that this happens. Now, when he does present you with the violence, it is very violent, and you're just like, oh, we're going there and even more. And also with the beginning of the film, that you are spending time with Buddy in his world, you really get this sort of rainbow cuddly vibe from it, as a very loving individual that's going to be there for you, you know, that sort of innocence of sorts. And you see that it is not that at all, especially towards the end of the film, once Buddy goes through some very drastic changes. You're just like, this is fucking scary. I think the ending of the film gets very, I would say, big, and not in a good way, where it's just like, what the hell are you even doing anymore? And that's where it kind of loses you, because I think Casper Kelly takes it to such a grandiose feel, and it sort of comes off like out of nowhere, and you're just like, I don't even know what to think about this anymore, but I'll roll with it, I guess. I think the ending leaves you with a ton of questions, and it definitely is setting up either another film or a series. I think if you're somebody who likes endings that feel complete and a full resolution, you might be a little bit disappointed with this one, because there is a lot more questions here at the end than there was at the beginning, and it feels like maybe they're going for a second one or they're trying to do a series of sorts. But everybody else here is really great. I think he definitely has to get a good round of applause here, because he does an incredible job at making Buddy such a sinister force of sorts. And I think Cristin Miloti here, as well as a mother who is just trying to get answers, is playing a very exceptional role as well. And I think that she just showcases how great of an actress she is as well. Do I think Buddy is going to revolutionize horror or what comes after? Not really. I think that there might be more room now for people to explore these ideas with nostalgia and all of that we'll probably see happen very soon. And I think that it is a great sort of like different movie than what we're used to seeing from horror movies, but at the end of the day, I still feel that it kind of felt a little bit more lackluster towards its ending. Very, very strong beginnings, but it just couldn't hold that same, I would say, tempo until the very end, and it feels like we were almost slipping, but luckily Casper's able to finish off the movie early on before it just feels like it falls apart, but you could kind of see the cracks starting to form. Very solid film though, incredible acting, incredible voice acting as well. I thought that the premise was new, it was original and interesting. I think that the first half of the film is super strong and solid. It just starts to sort of fumble towards the end. I still think it's worth seeing in a theater. I still think it's worth seeing at all, because it truly is something new and fresh. And I just hope with the next one that Casper Kelly sort of keeps it a bit more constrained and more focused, because it just sort of started to lose me in the end with so many ideas it was throwing at me. But honestly, I think Buddy's worth seeing, and it's one of my favorite films of the year so far. But as always, that's going to do it for me. 50,000 subscribers is the goal. Make sure you follow us on our Letterboxd, Instagram, TikTok, all provided right here. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Stay safe, stay positive.